We can take a quick peek at both teams. We have the Arachnoid, we have that Jumpluff and the Alolan Sandslash on the side of S-James.
And really interesting, neither trainer here has a Dunsparce. We saw so many Dunsparces on the loser side of the bracket. We saw that it was #1 in usage. It was only not used by 3 trainers, and we have 2 of them here in the winners finals.
Very curious choice. Instead, relying on some different Pokemon for that consistency. I would say the Azumarill is more of their consistent, kind of non-polarizing choice on those teams. As well as, I would say the Kanto Marowak as well, just relying on it for some consistent damage.
Yeah, consistent fast attack damage, able to ramp up to those Bone Clubs quite quickly with great coverage with Rock Slide because ground type damage is resisted or double resisted by flying types. Able to cover that with something that can hit those flying types with super effective. But we're looking at these teams, the only Pokemon that is going to have that flying type is that Jumpluff, and you really don't want that Pokemon up against your Alolan or your Cantonian Marowak. You would love to have that Pokemon up against an Alolan Marowak, however.
Yes, but no Alolan Marowaks here today. This isn't LAIC Alpha Phoebe. And moving right along into our winners finals, we are going to start off here today with a strong lead for S-James with that Azumarill into the Malamar. However, OutOfPoket opting to stay in the matchup. The Psywaves do a significant amount of damage. It provides a lot of fast attack pressure.
And this is what I'm talking about when I say you can take advantage of Azumarill's slow pacing. Look at how much damage has been done to S-James's Azumarill. He's built up a ton of energy, right? But if you see how much damage the Play Rough does to OutOfPoket's Azumarill, the health advantage goes to OutOfPoket at this point.
S-James Pete making the swap, building up some energy, utilizing a little bit of patience, and then absorbing the damages from these Play Roughs. This misaligns our switch timer. OutOfPoket has, I don't know, maybe 20 seconds left of his switch timer, and it is slowly creeping down. He's going to be able to make a switch out before S-James will be.
He does have a lot of energy on that Malamar. Superpower going to be double super effective against this Sandslash. However, I don't expect S-James to ever shield in this matchup, knowing that those double superpowers could prove to be a knockout blow.
And there is that Malamar. Really like OutOfPoket throwing the foul play here. There's no need to debuff yourself at this point. You're going to be in this matchup for a while, having been switched in. Here comes the Azumarill going for that super effective Play Rough. OutOfPoket rightly shielding.
And I think OutOfPoket is likely going to invest both shields here if the Azumarill is able to reach another Play Rough before he's able to pivot out. Again, taking advantage of Azumarill's slow pacing. Foul play coming through, going to do a little bit of chip damage. It is resisted by that fairy typing of Azumarill, but the Psywaves adding up. Another foul play is loaded. Ice Beam now from S-James. Does OutOfPoket have his counts down?
Does he know it's only an Ice Beam? He might have known, but decides to shield it anyway, kind of preserving the health on Malamar. Malamar is going to be able to do either neutral or super effective damage to the rest of S-James Pokemon. Actually going for the foul play here. Both charge attacks are resisted, maybe wanting to just make sure to clear out the Azumarill.
I would have preferred for him to go for the farm down, however, opting to use that energy, and now the remainder of his energy doesn't go to waste quite yet. He does save it now, and in comes the Shadow Feraligatr. It is going to get a lot of energy here from this Azumarill. I expect to see... Oh, actually, S-James going for the charge attack. I thought he might go for a Shadow Claw down and utilize one of his shields, but saving the shield means that it's going to be in a really comfortable position to not be worried about a superpower coming from that Malamar.
Right, and it's only that Malamar has probably exactly 1 HP remaining. So that is going to be tough for OutOfPoket. He can't exactly switch it in.
Yeah, in comes the Hydro Cannon, knocks it down into the yellow. Sludge Bomb is reached. We're gonna see Hydro Cannon is a charge attack tie. Pocket maybe losing count there. Was able to throw it earlier because S-James did not have his switch clock up yet, but Malamar coming back in, 1 Shadow Claw coming through, and S-James securing game number 1.
But there are many more games to go in this best of 5 series. So in that matchup, we saw the Malamar, the Alolan Sandslash, and the Clodsire from Out of Pocket. The Araquanid kind of staying on the bench. With Sjamesp, we saw that Azumarill lead with the Alolan Sandslash and Shadow for Alligator.
Yeah, it's maybe going to be a little bit tough to bring the Araquanid into Sjamesp team. Azumarill and Jumpluff both going to be pretty good. Alolan Sandslash is a bit of an interesting matchup because you resist the Powder Snow, Drill Run, and Ice Punch, but you are doing resisted Bug Bite damage, and you take so long to pace to the Water Pulse that gives Sjamesp an opportunity to switch out and potentially have a different Pokemon come into that matchup.
Yeah, you're going to see here kind of Out of Pocket maybe losing count, having a moment of like, was that right? Did I miscount? Where am I? And then the Clodsire getting swept off the field by the Hydro Cannon. Sjamesp being able to claim that early victory. Out of Pocket not really being able to utilize the charge attack that he did have loaded on Malamar.
All right, as our players get loaded into game number 2, they're going to have to clear their slate or their mind from the state of that last game. We have Malamar into Shadow for Alligator. This is a pretty neutral matchup as both Pokemon are doing neutral fast attack damage to each other, and they pace to their charge attacks in very similar fashion.
And what I see in the back is Big Spider on the side of Out of Pocket. And I think it has a fair amount of play going into the line that Sjamesp brought, especially, oh my goodness, that Hydro Cannon did so much damage. Sjamesp actually opting to shield his Feraligatr and maybe going for the Shadow Claw down, but we'll have to use both Protect Shields to do it.
I imagine afterwards, Out of Pocket is going to bring in that Araquanid to soak up this energy. However, I also expect Sjamesp to switch out because he has 2 Pokemon that will be pretty okay into this Pokemon as well. Bubble Beam coming through, going to lower the attack of this Azumarill. Everything from this Araquanid is resisted, but both of these Pokemon are extremely bulky. I think actually this Araquanid could stay in and be fine in this matchup.
Are you ready to see 10 Bubble Beams, Alpha Feed? Just Bubble Beam, Bubble Beam, Bubble Beam. This Azumarill is going to have no attack remaining by the time this Araquanid is done with it.
Attack drops once again. Play Rough coming through, going to do a small bit of chip damage to this Araquanid. I expect Sjamesp to switch out at some point so that he does not stay in a matchup where his Azumarill is just doing not as much damage as it should because of the Bubble Beam attack drops.
Out of Pocket actually over farming, not throwing another Bubble Beam. Gonna have to absorb another Play Rough onto the Araquanid. Just that little amount of chip damage. Out of Pocket, I think, kind of hoping that his Azumarill has a lot of play in the back. Azumarill kind of tough matchup against that Jumpluff. Azumarill needs probably some energy, some shield, wants to make sure it avoids getting hit with super effective damage.
Yeah, the tough thing is that it is the standard Jumpluff, right? So Ice Beam's going to threaten a little bit less, so I think that Out of Pocket needs to preserve a little bit of this Araquanid in order to have some play there. Instead, though, we see Sjamesp switching in the Feraligatr, trying to snipe away this energy from Out of Pocket. However, Out of Pocket shielding up. A second Hydro Cannon is ready and loaded. Out of Pocket was going for the Water Pulse there, but I don't know if he has enough health to get there.
I'm not sure either. Actually had the Water Pulse, but clicked on the Bubble Beam.
There is so little health remaining on that Araquanid. He's going to, because he's used both of his shields now it's a bit more tough for Out of Pocket. In the back is the Grass and Flying type of Jumpluff, and with shields down, he does have a slight energy advantage, but no switch clock up for Sjamesp quite yet means that he's got a few bubbles of energy advantage. Ice Beam coming through, not enough to knock out. Can Out of Pocket make a second Ice Beam before the Jumpluff can get to 2 charge attacks? Or can Sjamesp potentially catch one of the Ice Beams onto his own Azumarill?
That seems like a strong win condition because the Jumpluff is only going to be able to get to this first energy ball. Jumpluff not exactly known for being attack weighted. This is going to be super effective damage, but only takes Azumarill right into the red. There is Sjamesp' own Azumarill. Does Out of Pocket remember exactly how much energy is on the Jumpluff? He does. He's able to farm up to almost 2 attacks.
This is going to be a really close endgame. Playref enough to knock out 2 more bubbles to get to the Ice Beam. Energy Ball unable to be reached, but he reaches for the Aerial Ace. Does OutOfPoket know that this is an Aerial Ace, or is he expecting an Energy Ball?
Let's find out. It is the Aerial Ace. Does Azumarill hang on? No! That was close. That had to have been within about 1 HP margin of error there for Sjamesp, looking like in a dominant position now with a 2-0 lead over OutOfPoket, looking to repeat some history here today.
Jumpluff, not that attack weighted, but just attack weighted enough to be able to have that Aerial Ace knockout. I think OutOfPoket's probably regretting having shielded those Hydro Cannons into that Araquanid, or even regretting throwing the Bubble Beam as opposed to that Water Pulse. That extra damage from that charge attack would have been really impactful. As we see back in these replays, the amount of work that Jumpluff Energy Ball did, switching in the Azumarill, just enough energy OutOfPoket was able to reach in order to get to an Ice Beam, but perfect timing by SJ, able to reach an Aerial Ace of his own.
Yeah, it's really memorable to me that kind of when OutOfPoket winced a little when he threw that Bubble Beam instead of the Water Pulse. That could have been a key moment. All of those moments, especially when they happen earlier on in the mid game, can tend to kind of butterfly effect later on into the late game.
And thinking back about it, the Bubble Beam went into the Feraligatr, so it actually might have been helpful thinking about it again, because it had provided him to get more energy because there was more health on that Feraligatr. It provided him the ability to get more energy on that Azumarill to get to that second Ice Beam before the second Energy Ball was loaded on the Jumpluff. So, you know, these endgames can be really, really complex, especially between 2 talented trainers such as OutOfPoket and SJ. 2 games to 0, SJ is in a position to take it all and to move to the grand finals here. It is another Feraligatr into Malamar lead.
You can see the jaws clenched. These trainers are locked and loaded. This is decisive. Will James take a victory here to catapult him into the grand finals? We are going to see the Feraligatr make the first charge attack of this game, knocking the Malamar down very low. The Malamar can just barely get to 2 attacks before it gets Shadow Clawed down.
First superpower coming through, not going to pick up a knockout because of the shield. Second superpower now actually coming at a charge attack tie. Will OutOfPoket decide to invest a shield to pull the second shield from Sjamesp? Yes, he does. He wants shield advantage, and he wants to be able to force away the last protect shield from SJ.
OutOfPoket actually leaving the Araquanid on the bench this time. Only going to be making 1 appearance so far out of 3 games. Swapping in the Azumarill to absorb some of this damage. Maybe tries to make a, Sjamesp maybe trying to make a catch of damage, but instead Azumarill is going to have to absorb the first play ref. We've seen these mirror matches play out quite a bit, and it kind of depends if one of the Azumarills had some damage done on it already prior in the match.
You saw OutOfPoket not being the happiest there because of the Pokemon that came in. OutOfPoket was probably expecting it to be a Jumpluff, right? But instead, the Azumarill was the answer from SJ because of the energy advantage OutOfPoket had gained. He didn't want to bring in a Pokemon that would be taking double super effective damage from Ice Beam. However, in the back is a Pokemon that is even better against Jumpluff. It is that Alolan Sandslash. Actually, OutOfPoket pivoting it in here, saving that Azumarill for later, just in case there is another Pokemon that is good against this Alolan Sandslash. But SJ switches into the Feraligatr, going to be able to throw a Hydro Cannon, strip away this last shield. OutOfPoket needs to make sure he knows the energy counts on this Feraligatr. He needs to throw a Drill Run right before a Hydro Cannon. Could have done 1 more fast attack there to get a little bit more energy, but playing it safe, able to knock out the Feraligatr, and we'll have to see what SJ brings in afterwards.
The heaviest damage dealer for SJ is now out of play. Now going to be relying on two of his bulkier Pokemon. It's going to be a game for SJ of outlasting versus OutOfPoket, hoping to get some damage done. However, this play rough, though resisted, is going to do a lot of damage on this Alolan Sandslash.
Drill Run coming through, going to be more than enough damage to knock out the Azumarill, and I'm expecting to see a smile on OutOfPoket's face once he sees the Jumpluff coming in. This is going to be double super effective Ice Punch damage. No smile, instead building up to close to 2 Ice Punches at this point. This is going to do so much damage to this Jumpluff.
A little bit of a grimace on the side of Sjamesp. There is the first, and OutOfPoket not able to launch the second one, so the Alolan Sandslash is going to go down.
I think there is still energy on this Azumarill, so I expect an Ice Beam to be able to reach before an Energy Ball. SJ knows this as well. Ice Beam coming through, more double super effective Ice-type damage into Jumpluff, and this is going to secure a first victory here for OutOfPoket, trying to fight back and stay in this winner's finals.
OutOfPoket disrupting this sweep that James was on, saying, no, I am not going out that easily, leaving the Araquanid on the bench instead, but instead bringing in that Alolan Sandslash and the Azumarill. OutOfPoket has led that Malamar 3 games out of 3.
He's trying his best to counteract the Shadow Feraligatr from SJ. Malamar, one of the more neutral Pokemon he has on his team into that matchup. He talked about it earlier in the day, how his team is so weak to Shadow Feraligatr, and he had mentioned, you know, oh, if I'm able to win this matchup, I have to be the best player in the world. And now he's got another matchup with another Shadow Feraligatr, and it's SJ, one of the best trainers out there. He's so dominant in the Go Battle League. He won the regional just in Indianapolis last year, and I have to feel like he would have more accolades if he just was able to come to more tournaments.
Right, but OutOfPoket arguably is one of the greatest trainers in the world, our current NAIC reigning champion down in New Orleans. Our trainers are locked in. Can James wrap this up with a win, or can OutOfPoket force a game 5? We have the Shadow Kanto Marowak into the Azumarill, a quick pivot into the Clodsire. James has the perfect answer in Alolan Sandslash. Because the Alolan Sandslash, the popular fast attack, is now Powder Snow, able to pressure a lot of fast attack damage, which is compounded by the quick charged attack pressure by the Alolan Sandslash.
Compounded. I like that word. Like compounding interest. Quick maths with a big feed. Earthquake coming through, not enough to knock out a Alolan Sandslash because it's not the Shadow variant. And again, you know, I actually talked to OutOfPoket earlier about why Shadow versus non-Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and this has to be one of the reasons. Able to survive the Earthquake, take it like a champ. Poison Stings not threatening, Sludge Bomb coming through. Actually, SJ opting to no shield here and give up switch advantage.
Maybe hoping to get some fast attack energy off of the Clodsire, but OutOfPoket denying it, bringing in the Kanto Marowak. The Marowak is great here at being able to apply a lot of fast attack pressure, taking out like a third of that Feraligatr before even throwing an attack. However, it has to shield everything, and it's out of shields.
First Bone Club coming through takes the shield from SJ. SJ wants to preserve the remainder of this Feraligatr, recognizing how strong its charge attacks can be. Throwing in, I'm going to call it optimal timing for taking damage. It's a bit of a tongue twister there, but doing 2 Shadow Claws, getting the most amount of energy while taking the least amount of damage. Not necessarily perfect timing in terms of energy, but if you're able to pick up a knockout, it's perfect for the amount of damage you take.
So James had brought that Jumpluff pretty consistently in the prior 3 games. OutOfPoket has the Alolan Sandslash on the Clodsire, but no Jumpluff to be seen. We see an undercharge by James, able to pick up 2 Shadow Claws there before knocking out the Clodsire. Here comes the Alolan Sandslash, but this is rough. Now that OutOfPoket has no shields remaining, this Hydro Cannon is going to do a lot of damage. OutOfPoket kind of shaking his head. I can hear him making kind of a snide remark. I can't hear him, but I can imagine it.
You're talking about how Alolan Sandslash running the Powder Snow going to do a lot better into that Clodsire. However, it does a lot worse into something like Feraligatr, where it's doing resisted damage